Track 4. The Stay Spell. A tale about not leaving too soon. There once was a person, perhaps not so different from you, who was always leaving. Not because they didn't care, but because they cared about everything. Every idea, every invitation, every flicker of what if, tugged at their sleeve like a child needing attention. And so they moved, constantly, from one thing to the next. From books they never finished, to friendships they never deepened, to cities that glittered just enough to keep them guessing. They were a collector of fresh starts. They mistook momentum for meaning. They believed that if they kept moving, they might finally arrive. But they never quite did. One evening, after yet another beautiful place too soon, they found themselves at a crossroads that did not appear on any map. There, sitting on a crooked bench beneath a crooked tree, was an old woman with a kettle and 2 cups. She didn't ask where they'd come from. She didn't need to. "You've been leaving," she said simply, pouring tea that smelled like cedar and memory. The traveler sat down, oddly comforted, and confessed, "I keep hoping the next thing will feel like home. But every time I arrive, something tugs me toward what's next. I don't mean to be ungrateful, I just don't know how to stay." The old woman nodded, as if she'd heard this before, perhaps 1,000 times. Then she reached into the folds of her coat and pulled out a small glass vial. Inside was something that shimmered, not quite a liquid, not quite a light. "This," she said, "is the stay spell. But it doesn't work the way you think." The traveler blinked. "Will it make me want to stay?" "No." The woman smiled. "It will show you what you miss when you leave too soon." And with that, she dabbed a drop onto the traveler's wrist. The world did not freeze. It deepened. The breeze became a symphony. The silence became full. The cup of tea in their hands became the most exquisite warmth they'd ever known. Suddenly, the traveler noticed how beautiful the chipped mug was, how generous the moment felt, how long it had been since they'd seen something through. And in that stillness, something inside them softened. They realized not everything beautiful has to be chased. Some things ask to be stayed with, not captured, not completed, just kept company. The old woman placed a hand over theirs. "Most people leave just before the miracle," she said. "The secret is not arrival, it's remaining." When the traveler stood to leave, as all travelers eventually do, they were not in a hurry. They bowed, not out of obligation but reverence. And they carried the stay spell with them, not in the vial, but in their breath. From that day forward, they still moved through the world, but every now and then they would pause, linger a little longer, let the tea steep all the way. And the miracles, they came, quietly. Only once they'd stayed long enough to be seen.